Hello and welcome to Amy Beth Presents Stranger Stories. Not just my story, but there's a whole lot of strange stories happening here at Stillwater Books. And I'm honored to be part of this event. And it's interesting that people have these true stories to tell about hauntings and unusual things and things that are just explained that just keep coming back to you as a recurring theme. So stay tuned for more. That's a friend of mine. He runs a paranormal show. He has a show about the paranormal and the unexplained, and so I'm figuring that's why he's here this evening, to understand more about the subjects, including the story that I'm going to share. That alone is spooky enough. Here in Stillwater Books. Stranger stories come in all shapes and sizes. From any particular genre, I mean, it can be spirituality. Real-life experiences, though, I mean, because we're talking about true stories. You can't help but think of there's other things going on to let this thing happen. That's why sometimes people are stranger than fiction. The truth sometimes actually sounds that way, but it's actually true. So again, stay tuned for more.
And we also have this space as welcome for readers who are new, readers who are seasoned. A lot of these stories are challenging to share. They can be funny, they can be scary, they can be sexy. So we just ask that you listen with respect and an open heart and be ready to embrace what the reader has to share. And I'd also like to invite Steve up from Stillwater Books to tell us a little bit about this space that's generously hosting us tonight.
So thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out on a beautiful November evening here in downtown Pawtucket. I'm Steve Porter, and along with my wife Dawn, independent book publisher. And aside from that, we run the Association of Rhode Island Authors, which is a nonprofit of 330 published authors who live, write, and create good works here in Rhode Island. And just briefly about the store, because this event tonight plays right into our mission. Because, like every bookstore, we have the new bestsellers and new releases up front, and the rest of the store is mostly off-priced. So even though a lot of the books look new, they're very, very inexpensive. So something you think is maybe $20, you'll find out is $5.99. But around the store, what really makes us unique are these little blue tags you'll see on the shelves. And those identify a Rhode Island writer. And at the moment, we have about 250 to 260 different authors represented throughout the different sections of the store who live and write in Rhode Island. So when an event like this, when someone approaches us and says they want to do an event like this to promote the writing and creativity in the state, this is exactly what we do and exactly what we use this space for. So the only thing I want to apologize for is the lack of seating, because we had no idea how many folks were going to show up tonight. But after the event and during the intermissions, feel free to hang around and shop. Dawn and I are here 24 hours a day anyway. So we certainly don't mind if you've got your eye on a book or something. Ask us and feel free to shop and be welcome here. So thanks again for coming, and I'll turn it back over to Judy and Colin. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Our next reader is Amy Beth Paravano. Amy Beth hails from Rhode Island. Her early writing credits include the chapbook Heroes and Unsung Heroes, and poetry with notable works. She is also a female Elvis impersonator around the state and is known as Elvis's little sister for her rockabilly performances. She also produces and co-hosts and hosts her own television show, Amy Beth Presents. For more about her, you can visit her.records.com. Welcome, Amy Beth.
Well, I know the microphone is something I'm familiar with, but usually I'm not reading or stuff. First of all, I'm honored to be here and to have been selected. I thought that either that was too spooky or not spooky enough, but anyway. This is how it started. Is Norman there? That's actually the title, because it kept coming back to me that way. And for various reasons, I'm going to find out now in this. All right. Is Norman there? I lived in my home, which dates back to the Victorian era, and upon several occasions, a feeling of a capricious spirit looms in the darkness. The wooden dial telephone that used to work no longer does. It resembles those old farm stand ones you see in the grocery stores decades ago. Halloween, in fact, the whole month of October appears to be a reappearance of a particular spirit. Its cold presence, a tap on my shoulder, but there is no one visible. But I think I hear someone say, "Hey, is Norman there?" Several years ago, prior to that incident, I had made a handmade rag doll for my son, who actually named it Norman for some reason. So I placed it on the nightstand in the hallway. Its black button eyes, just staring out in space. Cute, but a helpless creature, to say the least. One afternoon, when my son returned home from grade school, the telephone rang. Upon answering the call, I said, "Hello, who is this speaking?" The reply from the caller to me was, "Is Norman there?" Well, freaky. I felt strange, spooked, with chilly goosebumps all over me. My son went over to fetch the rag doll. I said to the caller, "There is no one here named Norman." Hung up the phone. Several days later, though, I decided to investigate this matter on my own. Upon going up the creaky stairwell to my attic, I discovered something else besides the cobwebs and the old boxes of memorabilia stashed in the closet and the floor spaces. A blackthorn stick was hiding behind the hardwood door. That was a clue. It appears to have been an authentic Irish shillelagh that was left there by the previous owner of my home. Continuing my search, I discovered a wooden frame glass covered with a layer of dust. Carefully, I looked upon getting an old dust rag nearby and slowly began to clear it off until I read this. Sir Norman Muldoon, for his delightful service as a firefighter, journeyman, troubadour, and a volunteer Kentish guard. My goodness, was I ever surprised by all of this. I thought, should I want to do some bewitching? I can just wave the blackthorn stick around as if it were a magic wand. And I did, but I kept this discovery all to myself. But upon further investigation, I have found no other clues. Upon several trips to the local library for a name search, there was still nothing found. I tried the Historical Society, still nothing about any living relatives. My guess is that he was originally from Ireland and came to America years ago. Maybe he stayed in the house for a while, and then he lived there. You know, nighttime seems to be the most intriguing for me, especially concerning the presence of his ghost. My bedroom is on the first floor. Even though my hearing is not what it used to be, I clearly hear noises up in the attic. At times a thud or a thump. Mind you, it is not squirrels. So I have stashed the shillelagh behind my bedroom door and I wave it around as a magic wand. Then the noise stops. Daytime is fine, but I'm not there all the time. But when I am, and I feel upset about something, I feel a slight shove or a tap on my shoulder. I think that might be Norman encouraging me to move on. Don't worry about things. It was a cold, snowy winter. You know, being snowbound for several days was something that I did not enjoy. So I began baking some bread and pies for an upcoming holiday. The doorbell rang, and I ran to the front door thinking that it may be my son or someone coming to plow the walkway of snow. So there was someone there wanting to clear the snow. I agreed to it. As I returned to close the front door, I smelled smoke. I had left the burner on, and in the oven the bread was burning. The fire alarm went off. But even though the fire alarm went off, I felt a cold breeze encompass me. In that pantry area, I grabbed for the fire extinguisher, and I yelled so that the person outside clearing my walkway could hear me. Luckily he did, and came into the front door that I kept unlocked. He began to help me put out the smoke. The small oven fire, was I ever so grateful. I paid him for clearing the walkway and gave him some extra for putting out the small fire. He said, "Thank you, ma'am." I said, "By the way, what is your name?" He said, "Norman." "You can call me Normie." I said, "Oh my God." He said, "Man, is everything okay? You all right?" I said, "Oh, sure. I was just remembering something about a friend, somebody long time ago. And bye-bye, thank you," and then he left. Bewitching can be fun, but dangerous. You must be clever with the ghost or haunting. I know that. There are other strange phenomena that happens in this house, but only helpful and mischievous things. But I'm happy about that, to say the least. Another inquiry about a previous owner, I asked the neighbor, said, the man that lived in this house prior to us had passed away on Christmas Day. His name was not Norman, it was Gerald. So around that time of year, there's a certain nostalgic feeling, hearing the people I had not seen in a while come by, as if by thought, or call me on the phone and say, or in a dream, they arrived just to stop by to say hello. So at times there is music that sounds as a harp or a celeste from the parlor that now has a TV and a couch. Our neighbor said that in reality, a distant relative of Gerald played the harp. So it appears that on occasion, he makes his presence known as well there too. When I feel as if I need some direction, I just wave that shillelagh around, and rather carefully too. But several years later, I recovered the findings of the ragdoll, Norman, in the basement, under the stairwell, covered with cobwebs. I phoned my adult son and shared that with him. He laughed, remembering the early days as a toddler and how spooked I was by the memory. Meanwhile, as I put the dusty relic of the doll in the box to bring upstairs, the telephone rang. Next to the old telephone, the one that I have on the wall, and we don't have no caller ID. So I pick up the phone, I said hello. The voice said, "Is Norman there?" Oh my God. He said, "I know that Norman is there." Shocked, I screeched. I said, no, this can't be the same caller for Norman. several years ago. And the person says, yes, it is. There is no one named Norman here. The caller was persistent and repeated it over and over and over again. But I know Norman is there. Is Norman there? I looked at the dial, bewildered and scared. I hung up the phone.
And our next reader is Norman just. But it is our very own Fallon Masterson. Fallon has written pieces for about
He knows all about the psychic.
If she won't do it, I can count to 3. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, this is Mr. Johnston. It was all about the psychic stuff. And surprise guest tonight. And I want to get a little feedback on not only what he's doing in my story, but the whole event.
Oh, yes. Well, this has been an excellent event in Stillwater Books. Yeah. Amy Beth may have trouble remembering my first name because I have an identical twin brother. So if she calls me Carl or Keith, it's kind of correct anyway. I happen to be Carl. I'm Carl tonight, yes. Here with my colleague. Yes, Elvis. Yeah. Thank you very much. He did have a twin brother. Yeah, as we know. Yes, and this was very entertaining and informative and just a good presentation. So many eclectic, interesting readers, but the central theme was haunting. So, and Amy Beth, I found your story enchanting, as did everybody in the audience.
Like everybody else shook up?
The common theme to yours was, Norman. Norman kept coming to you, that name, and everybody was starting to say Norman. Yes. Then Norman is significant to me because I once knew a hypnotist named Norman out in Scituate, North Scituate, Rhode Island. And he was rather uncouth, so I remember him. But yes, and we were talking about some paranormal themes, haunted, like something survives the grave. And that was reinforced through these readings because they were autobiographical, as was yours. Right? Your delivery was, you sold it.
It's funny when you mentioned Norman and Elvis. Today I was Googling that Elvis, when he was named Norman, swings up there.
Well, I had to. Oh, as a booking agent, somebody close to him.
So maybe there is a connection.
And before we close, I could, if my voice can project, I can share one of my brief poems, if I could, if you could present that, because it relates to this area, this region. Of course, we are in downtown Pawtucket, Rhode Island. We are directly across from the Blackstone River and historic Slater Mill site. So I have a poem called Nether River. Like an underworld, like an underriver. It's called Nether, like a Netherland, Nether River. And if I can remember it, I'm usually reciting it down by the river. But, so let me see if I can you can clue me in if I can. Okay. It goes, looking down the Blackstone River causes me to quake and shiver when I think it might deliver those sad souls whose lives were claimed. Ceaselessly I see it flowing, with the chill wind softly blowing, and I pause here, never knowing of the lost ones left unnamed. Moonlight on the water gleaming, carried by the river streaming, spirits flown that now are dreaming of this river never tamed. You turned my poem into a spiritual.
I think it's all right.
I'll be thinking on the way home, Norman. I'm going to get a call from some Norman today.
Wow.
You're spreading that.
Spontaneous combustion.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you very much. Well, when I get over my shyness, I'll be able to share more.
Thank you so much.
Dear.